Разрешите предоставить слово Jerome Engel, основатель и директор Центра предпринимательства и инноваций имени Говарда Лестера, Университета Калифорнии, Беркли. После этого кофе-пауза. Спасибо.
Okay, this is going to be in English. Put on your headsets. Got this? Okay, I need your help. You ready? I need you to do what I do. Thank you. Are you wearing a jacket? Take it off. Come on, take it off. All right, take them off. Let's stand up. Stand up. Let's go. Up, 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 up. Okay, reach up high. Oh, reach out wide. Ooh. Okay, now clap. Yeah. Now I'll take the right. Okay. So I'm a college professor, right? And I just got a great lesson in public speaking from our colleague, the prior speaker, who said, make contact with your audience. So I thought, well, how do I want to make contact with my audience? And I realized it's been a long day for me, and it's probably been a very long day for you. So we're going to spend 18 minutes together. Now these 18 minutes are a very famous 18 minutes. Not because I'm here, not because you're here, but because we're part of this TED event, this TED thinking. Some of the best talks I've ever seen were TED Talks. And they get done really well, so we're going to do this together. Okay, so where am I from? This is going to be, I was told, I forget that, that's my history. This is where I'm from. I was told that I had one job to do in these 18 minutes, and that was to tell you a personal story. But I thought, how can I tell you a personal story and not sort of teach something? Because I'm a teacher, I always want to convey a message. So what I'm going to do is teach you something. I teach my MBA class at the Haas School of Business, but I'm going to teach it in a personal way. Because I've been in Tomsk now for 3 days, and I've seen a lot of different things. And a lot of it felt just like home. So what's similar and what's different? So one of the things is we've got a big bay. You don't have a big bay, but you have a huge river. Now, when I said to my friends, wow, that's a big river, they said, no, that's a small river. And I said, no, that's big. And they said, no, up there it's big, here is small. All right, so one thing is what's big to me is small to you. So we come from different worlds in that way. Let's see. What else? What might be the same? Okay, I saw a great university today with a beautiful campus. I come from a great university with a beautiful campus. That's the same. What else? We've got students. You've got students, right? Is the population of Tomsk about 500,000? Is that about right? If that's about right, half of you are students. I mean, I was like, I don't know if that's exactly correct, but I see so many young people on the streets, and that's a little bit like Berkeley, California. A lot of young people, so that's the same. So, different. That's my office right there. I haven't seen any buildings that look like that in Tomsk. I've seen beautiful buildings, but none with hills behind them. You don't have hills. Different. I come from a place with hills. All right, so some things are the same, some things are different. All right, now here's something that's the same, okay? This is called the S-curve of innovation, and you're all about innovation. I know that, because I've been here and I've met your professors and I've met some of the students, and one of the things I know about innovation is that in the beginning, nothing happens, right? It's a lot of work. And you're doing research, and you're trying to figure things out. But after a while, after all this work, things happen, and they happen very fast. But once they happen very fast for a while, nothing happens again. And that's when you get bored and you move on. Well, that's just not how people work. That's how technology works. In the beginning, knowledge acquisition is tough. Then it gets easy, and then it gets impossible, really, very inefficient to learn more. So if I want to map my life to you, I can map it through technology innovations that you, well, I don't know if you've lived through, but you've heard about, right? Because if I put dates on that, that's 1960 and that's 1980. And that was very formative for me. In 1960, I was graduating from high school. And what happened in that 20 years was the semiconductor revolution. And I lived through that, and it was shocking. It's like everything went from being vacuum tubes, hot things that sat in the back of radios, to being cool things, transistors, you know, things that didn't use much energy. Well then, I lived through this personal computer thing, right? If that's 1970 and that's 1990, that 20 years, I lived through this thing where there used to be these companies, whoa, there used to be these companies, oh, come on, let's go. There used to be these companies like IBM and Xerox, and they were like the big deal, like in computers, and they're still around, but you know, then Sun Microsystems and Osborne, all these like other companies came and replaced them, but here's one of the few ones that still stuck around, Apple Computer. A lot of those other names are gone. Well, the next 20 years, and these 20 years overlap, really would be like from 1980 to 2000. And the thing that's happened, I know that you're all very familiar with, is the internet, the communications revolution. And again, some of these companies are still around, but some are gone, like Netscape. And you have all this search stuff going on, and now we have all this where stuff, like Facebook, YouTube, places we go to hang out, right? And all these revolutions are sort of happening. Those are 20 years left on 20 years left on 20 years. So you have, 40 years in total of total, like, chaos in terms of the business world that you have to walk into today, the context that you're going to move into. And it's even tougher because we had the biotech revolution, the nanotech revolution. I mean, now we have green tech, all these technologies moving. When I came to visit your science universities and your engineering universities, it's the same stuff that you're dealing with it. What's different is that where I live, these things get into the market faster, and the students have an opportunity to create businesses a little easier than you do here, because they're closer to the consumer. They're closer to the marketplace. So I've been involved in a conversation for the last 3 days here about why. Why is it different? Is it something called a triple helix? Is it something called this or that? And I've come up with an answer, okay? The answer is you. All right, and I really believe this. This isn't just sort of a tirade. This is true. The answer is the individual, right? The individual recognizing opportunity, because maybe you're an engineer, or maybe you're just a good fashion designer, or maybe you're a good musician, but you see something that can get done. And the key is to do it, right? And when you do things, you always need the same 3 things. You need a little money to get started, you need people to do it with, and you need the know-how, the technology to do it. Where I come from, we call that entrepreneurship. So that's same and different, because that word is a mixed word. Where I come from, it's all good. But I talked to a lot of you, and I found out that that word might be good, it might not be good, it might have negative connotations. Well, guess what? We got to get beyond thinking about win-lose into win-win. And that's entrepreneurship. It's creating value. Yes, you get rich doing it, but you create jobs, you create wealth for others, and you create a better outcome for your customers, right? Now I'm really preaching. You see the professor? You see him, he's right here. He's right behind me, right? So the key thing is, though, you can't do this alone. There's nobody in this room that's going to walk out of here and say, I'm going to change the world and do it alone. You do it with a team in your project, working together, but you also need a whole community. The buzzword, the fancy word for that community is ecosystem, right? So if you want to sound really fancy, you go out and say, well, we're going to build an ecosystem for whatever it is. Well, what is an ecosystem? Starts out with mom and dad. They're your ecosystem. They define your world. Well, later on in your life, it's your lawyer, your banker, your accountant, the guy who sells you the stuff you're going to resell, your landlord. It's everybody you know. That's your ecosystem. You need an ecosystem that helps you get the job done, that understands that you're a young entrepreneur and you're struggling and you need help. That help is because you're going to spend a lot of time, effort, and money before you make any. Okay, this stuff takes time. It's hard. Now that curve can take a long time or a relatively short time, but all along that curve, this is your ecosystem, right? That's time, that's technology, that's money, that's people. All along that curve, you're changing the mix. Sometimes money's more important. Sometimes people are more important. In the beginning, it's all people. Over here, it's all people. Then when you to scale up, you figure out you know what you're doing, you can't do it without a little money. And over here, it's customers. So the mix changes. It's not constant, but the ingredients are the same. So that's a hell of a challenge. That's your challenge, and the way you get there is to think about the future and tell everybody about it, and those people who are going to help you, they'll get convinced by your passion and by your intelligence. It's not enough to be loud. It's not enough to be enthusiastic. You have to really know what you're doing. Not being certain about it, but having given it your best effort. So that's a visioning exercise. Becoming somebody who can tell the future. You can tell an entrepreneur. They're the people who say, you know, someday, and then they describe the future. And the entrepreneur is the one who does something about that future. So, when you do things about that future, you create value. And when people see that value, it's just a sense. People get a sense you're doing something good. And when they see it, they support you. And they help you get the job done. In a money sense, that's giving you a little money every step of the way. In an employment sense, it's joining your team and working with you. The risk is failure. And what does failure mean? It means you don't achieve the goal sometimes. And when you don't, the system breaks. You know what? It's not the worst thing in the world. I've traveled all around the world, and it's like the worst thing. People say, we can't accept failure. If I fail, I'm out of here. I can't even show my face in town. The banker will never talk to me again. My parents won't talk to me again. I'm a loser. If you know somebody who's failed, you walk right up to him, and you say, what'd you learn? That's great. Teach me what you've learned, because you've done something I haven't done. You've struggled and you failed. Let's go ahead and do it again. This time we'll win. You have to accept failure, embrace failure. It's a learning process. It's the only way you learn. We just heard from a scientist, a physicist. How many times did you fail in the lab before you figured something out that worked? A lot of times, right? You fail many more times than you succeed. And it's that way in life, too. Accept it, live with it, and learn from it. So all these players and the fancy theories about clusters of entrepreneurship, all it means is that it works better when we do it together. When the universities, and the big companies are collaborative with each other, and the banks and investors work with you, and the government is supportive, this thing, cluster of innovation, is easy to describe when it exists. When it's emerging, it's tough to see it. And that's where we are right now. Tomsk is emerging as a cluster of innovation. It can be frustrating, it can be hard, but it'll be a great thing to be part of. So, an image people use today when they talked all about this cluster of innovation, they talked about the triple helix methodology or framework. That, I don't care what you call it, the key thing is the issue of having the people, the technology, the know-how, together, collaborating and helping each other. And the lecture. says thank you, but I'm not done. Right? No, I'm not done. Oh, I'm not done. No. Now we got to get to a personal statement. Because I can give you that lecture in my classroom, right? But now it's time for the personal statement. The personal statement is, I'm Jerry Engel. I'm 64 years old. I've got 2 kids. They're 30 and 27. I've had a lot of careers in my life. I could put up that slide now that talked about me. Doesn't matter what they were, but I've had 3 or 4 different careers. And you know what? They've gotten better. Everyone, they weren't all successful, but everyone got better than the last. And the best one is the one I have right now, because it's working with people your age, teaching in the classroom, and that's the best thing I've ever done. Thank you very much.